Being busy and being productive are not the same thing, not even close. And failing to understand the difference might be the biggest mistake you're making right now. When I was a young man, I had a mentor who changed my life. He looked at me one day, watched me running around, doing all kinds of things, and he said, "Jim, you seem awfully busy." I said, "Yes, sir, I am." And then he asked me a question I'll never forget. He said, "But are you productive?" I had to stop and think about that. You know what I learned? Activity is not necessarily accomplishment. Movement is not necessarily achievement. Being occupied is not the same as being effective. Now let me tell you something powerful. Time is our most precious commodity. You can't save it. You can't buy more of it. You can't borrow it. All you can do is spend it. The question is not whether you'll spend your time. You will. The question is, how will you spend it? Most people are spending their time, but they're not investing it. And there's a world of difference between the two. Let me explain what I mean. When you spend something, it's gone. When you invest something, it comes back multiplied. Are you spending your time or are you investing it? That's a question worth asking yourself every single day. Now, here's what's fascinating about productivity. It's not about doing more things. It's about doing the right things, the things that matter, the things that move the needle in your life and your business. I've met so many people over the years who are experts at staying busy. They have full calendars. They're always running from one meeting to the next. Their to-do lists are a mile long. And at the end of the day, they're exhausted. But when they look back, they can't quite figure out what they've actually accomplished. Does that sound familiar to anyone? I thought it might. You see, busyness gives us the illusion of productivity. It makes us feel important. It gives us something to talk about when someone asks, "How are you?" "Oh, I'm so busy." We say almost with a sense of pride, as if being busy is some kind of achievement in itself. But here's the hard truth. Busyness is not a badge of honor. It's often a sign of poor planning, lack of focus, and misplaced priorities. I want to tell you about two kinds of people I've observed. The first kind are like butterflies. They flutter from one activity to another, never staying in one place long enough to make a difference. They're busy, always busy. But at the end of the day, what have they really accomplished? The second kind are like bees. They have a clear purpose. They know exactly what they're looking for. And they focus on that one thing until they've extracted all the value they can from it before moving on to the next thing. Which one are you? A butterfly or a bee? You know, productivity isn't about how many things you do. It's about the value of what you do. It's about the results you produce. It's about your contribution. I learned a valuable lesson years ago that I want to share with you. It's called the Pareto principle, or the 80/20 rule. It suggests that 80% of your results come from 20% of your activities. Think about that for a moment. If you could identify the 20% of your activities that produce 80% of your results, wouldn't you want to focus more time and energy on those activities? Of course you would. That's just common sense. But common sense, as we know, isn't always common practice. Most people spend 80% of their time on activities that only produce 20% of their results. And they wonder why they're not getting ahead. They're busy, but they're busy doing the wrong things. Let me put it another way. Imagine you're a woodcutter, and your job is to cut down as many trees as possible. You're busy swinging that axe all day long. You're working hard. You're sweating. But you're not stopping to sharpen the axe. What happens? You become less and less effective. You're working harder but accomplishing less. That's what happens when we get caught in the trap of busyness. We're so busy doing that we forget to pause and think about what we're doing and why we're doing it. Now, I want to ask you something. What's the most valuable activity in your business or your life right now? What's the one thing that, if you did it consistently and excellently, would have the greatest positive impact? Think about that. Got it. Good? Good. Now, how much time did you spend on that activity yesterday, last week, last month? If you're like most people, probably not enough. And why not? Because you were busy doing other things. Things that seemed urgent but weren't really important. You see, there's a difference between urgent and important. And understanding that difference is crucial if you want to be productive rather than just busy. Urgent tasks demand our immediate attention. They shout at us. They're the ringing phone, the incoming email, the knock on the door. But important tasks contribute to our long-term mission, values, and goals. They're often quiet. They don't demand. They patiently wait for us to recognize their value. The tragedy is that many people spend their days responding to the urgent while neglecting the important. And then they wonder why they're not making progress toward their goals. Let me tell you a story. There was a university professor who visited a Zen master to learn about Zen. The professor talked and talked about what he already knew, his theories, his ideas. The Zen master listened quietly and then began to pour tea for his visitor. He filled the cup and then kept pouring until the tea overflowed onto the table and then onto the floor. The professor watched this happening and finally cried out, "Stop, the cup is full. No more will go in." The Zen master replied, "Like this cup, you are full of your own opinions and speculations. How can I show you Zen unless you first empty your cup?" Many of us are like that cup. We're so full of busyness that there's no room for productivity. We're so full of activity that there's no space for achievement. We need to empty our cups. We need to create space. We need to learn to say no to the merely good so that we can say yes to the truly great. You know, one of the most productive people I ever met told me his secret. He said, "Jim, I don't have a to-do list. I have a not-to-do list." Isn't that interesting? He had identified all the things that were wasting his time, all the activities that weren't contributing to his goals, and he had made a conscious decision not to do them. That's discipline, that's focus, that's productivity. Now, I want to share with you a few strategies that can help you break free from the trap of busyness and start becoming truly productive. First, clarify your values and goals. You can't be productive if you don't know what you're trying to produce. What matters most to you? What are you trying to achieve? Where do you want to be in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years? Get clear on that, and it becomes much easier to distinguish between activities that deserve your time and those that don't. Second, identify your high-value activities. These are the things that contribute most significantly to your goals. The 20% that produces 80% of your results. Make these activities your priority. Third, schedule your priorities rather than prioritizing your schedule. Most people look at their calendar and then decide what they can accomplish within the constraints of their existing commitments. Productive people decide what they need to accomplish and then build their calendar around those priorities. Fourth, learn to say no. This might be the most important productivity skill of all. Every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. Make sure you're not saying yes to the wrong things. Fifth, eliminate, automate, or delegate anything that isn't a high-value activity. If it doesn't need to be done, don't do it. If it can be automated, automate it. If someone else can do it, delegate it. Sixth, focus on one thing at a time. Multitasking is a myth. Your brain can't actually do two cognitively demanding tasks simultaneously. When you try to multitask, you're actually switching rapidly between tasks, and each switch carries a cognitive cost. You're less efficient, less effective, and more likely to make mistakes. And seventh, take care of yourself. Your ability to be productive is directly related to your energy levels, your health, and your state of mind. Make sure you're getting enough sleep, eating well, exercising regularly, and taking time to recharge. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Jim, that all sounds great, but you don't understand my situation. I have too many demands on my time. I have too many responsibilities. I can't just focus on a few high-value activities. I understand that feeling. I really do. But here's what I've learned. The busier you are, the more you need to prioritize. The more demands you have on your time, the more selective you need to be about how you spend it. You see, nobody ever succeeded by trying to do everything. Success comes from doing the right things and doing them well. Let me tell you about a conversation I had with a young entrepreneur a few years ago. He was working 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. He was exhausted, stressed, and still not seeing the results he wanted. He asked me what he was doing wrong. I asked him to list all the things he was working on. There were dozens of projects, initiatives, ideas. I said, if everything is a priority, nothing is a priority. Which of these projects, if successful, would make all the others easier or unnecessary? He thought about it and pointed to 3 items on his list. Focus on those I told him. Put everything else on hold or delegate it. He looked at me like I was crazy. But what about all these other things, he asked. They're all important. I said, maybe they are, but are they the most important? Are they the things that will move the needle in your business right now? He reluctantly agreed to try my approach. 3 months later, he called me. His business had grown by 40%. He was working 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and he was happier and healthier than he'd been in years. What happened? He stopped being busy and started being productive. He focused on the few things that really mattered and let go of the rest. You know, there's a big difference between motion and progress. Just because you're moving doesn't mean you're advancing. Just because you're busy doesn't mean you're producing. Think about a rocking chair. It's in constant motion, but it doesn't go anywhere. Are you like that rocking chair? Are you confusing motion with progress? Activity with achievement? Busyness with productivity. I want to challenge you to take a hard look at how you're spending your time. Are you investing it in activities that align with your values and move you toward your goals? Or are you just filling your days with busyness to feel like you're doing something? Remember, at the end of your life, you won't wish you had answered more emails, attended more meetings, or crossed more items off your to-do list. You'll wish you had spent more time on the things that truly mattered, your relationships, your passions, your purpose. And that's what productivity is really about. It's not about doing more things. It's about doing more of the right things. Now, let's talk about some of the common time wasters that keep us busy but not productive. Number one, meetings. How many of you have sat through meetings that could have been emails? How many of you have attended meetings without a clear agenda or purpose? How many of you have left meetings wondering why you were even there? Meetings are necessary for collaboration and communication, but they can also be one of the biggest drains on your productivity if they're not managed properly. Before you agree to attend a meeting, ask yourself, is my presence necessary? What's the purpose of this meeting? Could this be handled in another way? Number two, email. The average professional spends 28% of their workday reading and responding to email. That's more than 2 hours a day. And yet, how much of that email is truly important? How much of it directly contributes to your most important goals? Try this. Instead of checking your email throughout the day, schedule specific times to process your inbox. Maybe once in the morning and once in the afternoon. And when you do check your email, handle each message once. Either respond to it, delegate it, or delete it. Don't read an email and then mark it as unread to deal with later. That's just creating extra work for yourself. Number three, social media and digital distractions. These are the silent killers of productivity. They creep into our days a few minutes at a time, but those minutes add up. Before you know it, you've spent an hour scrolling through your feeds, and what do you have to show for it? Usually nothing. If you find yourself reflexively reaching for your phone whenever you have a moment of downtime, that's a sign you need to establish some boundaries. Use technology to help you. There are apps that can block distracting websites during your work hours. Or try something as simple as putting your phone in another room when you need to focus. Number four, perfectionism. This one might surprise you, but perfectionism can be a major time waster. It's the voice that says, it's not quite ready yet. I need to make one more revision. It needs to be perfect before I can move on. But here's the truth. Perfect is the enemy of done. And in most cases, done is better than perfect. I'm not advocating for shoddy work. Excellence should always be your goal. But there's a point of diminishing returns, where the additional time you spend perfecting something isn't producing a proportional increase in value. Learn to recognize that point and move on when you reach it. Remember, you can always come back and improve something later if necessary. Number five, lack of planning. When you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So many people start their day without a clear idea of what they want to accomplish. They react to whatever comes their way rather than proactively focusing on their priorities. Take a few minutes at the beginning of each day to plan your time. Identify your most important tasks and schedule them during your peak energy hours. Create a plan that aligns with your goals and values. And remember, a good plan today is better than a perfect plan tomorrow. Don't get caught in analysis paralysis. Make the best decision you can with the information you have and adjust as necessary. Number six, inability to say no. This is perhaps the biggest reason people end up busy but not productive. They say yes to too many things, requests, invitations, opportunities, without considering the cost in terms of time and energy. Every yes you give should be a deliberate choice, not a reflex. Before you agree to something, ask yourself, does this align with my values and goals? Is it a high-value activity? Is it the best use of my time right now? If the answer to any of these questions is no, then your answer should be no as well. And you don't need to apologize for it. Your time is your life, and you have the right, indeed the responsibility, to invest it wisely. Now, I want to talk about something that's rarely discussed but is absolutely critical for productivity, the power of rest and renewal. You see, productivity isn't about being on all the time. It's about managing your energy, not just your time. And that means building periods of rest and renewal into your schedule. Think about it this way. If you were to drive your car without ever stopping for gas, what would happen? Eventually, you'd run out of fuel and come to a halt. The same principle applies to your energy levels. If you push yourself without taking time to refuel, you'll eventually burn out. But here's what's interesting. When you build regular periods of rest and renewal into your schedule, you actually become more productive, not less. Your mind is sharper, your creativity is enhanced, your decision-making is improved. I recommend a rhythm of work and rest that looks something like this. Work intensely for 90 to 120 minutes, then take a 15 to 30-minute break. During that break, do something completely different. Go for a walk, meditate, have a conversation. Read something inspiring. And on a larger scale, make sure you're taking at least one day off each week, a day when you completely disconnect from work. And plan regular vacations throughout the year. Not just time away from work, but time that truly refreshes and renews you. Remember, the goal isn't to see how long you can go without stopping. The goal is to sustain high performance over the long haul. And that requires a rhythm of work and rest. Now let's talk about something that's often overlooked in discussions about productivity, the power of your environment. Your environment, physical, social, digital, can either support your productivity or sabotage it. It can make it easier for you to focus on high-value activities or pull you toward low-value distractions. Take your physical environment, for instance. Is your workspace organized or cluttered? Do you have the tools and resources you need readily available? Is it conducive to the kind of work you need to do? Studies have shown that our physical environment can significantly impact our productivity. A cluttered space often leads to a cluttered mind. So take some time to organize your workspace in a way that supports your focus and efficiency. Your social environment matters too. Are you surrounded by people who support your goals and aspirations? Or do you spend time with people who drain your energy and distract you from what's important? Jim Rohn, that's me, once said you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Think about that. The people around you influence your thinking, your behavior, your standards. Choose your associates wisely. And then there's your digital environment. In today's world, this can be one of the biggest factors in your productivity. Are your devices set up to minimize distractions? Have you turned off unnecessary notifications? Do you have systems in place to manage your information flow? Small changes in your environment can lead to big improvements in your productivity. So don't underestimate the impact of your surroundings. Now, I want to talk about a concept that's fundamental to productivity, but is often misunderstood: discipline. Many people think of discipline as a form of punishment or restriction, but that's not what discipline is at all. Discipline is simply the ability to do what needs to be done, when it needs to be done, whether you feel like it or not. Discipline is what bridges the gap between goals and accomplishments. It's what turns dreams into reality. It's what transforms potential into performance. But here's the thing about discipline. It's not about forcing yourself to do things you hate. It's about aligning your actions with your values and goals. When you're clear about what matters most to you, discipline becomes easier. It becomes a choice you make willingly, not a burden you bear reluctantly. And discipline, like a muscle, gets stronger with use. The more you practice doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it, the easier it becomes. Eventually it becomes a habit, a part of who you are. So don't wait until you feel like working on your most important goals. Start now and the motivation will follow. As the ancient Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu said, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Take that step, even if it's small, even if you're not feeling particularly motivated. The discipline to begin is often more important than the scale of what you begin. And remember, discipline without direction is drudgery. Always connect your disciplined actions to your larger purpose, to the things that give your life meaning and fulfillment. Let's shift gears and talk about another crucial aspect of productivity: decision-making. Every day we make hundreds of decisions, big and small, and each decision either moves us closer to our goals or further away from them. The quality of our decisions largely determines the quality of our lives and our productivity. Yet many of us make decisions without much thought. We react to circumstances rather than respond thoughtfully. We let our emotions rather than our values and goals drive our choices. Productive people are intentional about their decisions. They have clear criteria for what's worth their time and what isn't. They understand the concept of opportunity cost, that saying yes to one thing means saying no to something else. One powerful strategy for better decision making is to create decision rules for yourself in advance. For example, you might decide that you won't check email first thing in the morning, or that you'll only attend meetings that have a clear agenda, or that you'll always prioritize tasks that directly contribute to your most important goal. These decision rules simplify your life and reduce decision fatigue, the mental exhaustion that comes from making too many decisions. They free up mental bandwidth for the decisions that truly matter. Another important aspect of decision making is learning from your decisions. After you make a significant decision, take some time to reflect on the outcome. Did it turn out as you expected? If not, why not? What can you learn from this decision that will help you make better choices in the future? Remember, the goal isn't to make perfect decisions all the time. That's impossible. The goal is to make decisions that are consistent with your values and move you toward your goals, and to learn and grow from your experiences. Now, I want to address something that holds many people back from being truly productive: fear. Fear of failure, fear of success, fear of rejection, fear of the unknown. These fears can paralyze us, keeping us stuck in patterns of busyness that feel safe but don't lead to meaningful progress. Fear of failure might keep you from starting that business, writing that book, having that difficult conversation. Fear of success might make you sabotage yourself just as you're about to achieve a breakthrough. Fear of rejection might prevent you from sharing your ideas or asking for what you need. Fear of the unknown might keep you clinging to the familiar, even when it's not serving you well. But here's the truth about fear: it's not going away. Everyone experiences fear. The difference is in how they respond to it. Productive people feel the fear and do it anyway. They understand that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the willingness to act despite the fear. And they've learned something powerful: action is the antidote to fear. When you take action, even a small step, the fear begins to dissipate. You realize it's not as scary as you thought. You build confidence. You gain momentum. So if fear is holding you back from being productive, acknowledge it. Don't try to suppress it or deny it. But don't let it control you either. Take one small step in the direction of your fears, and then another and another. Before you know it, you'll have overcome the fear and made significant progress toward your goals. I want to talk now about a mindset shift that can dramatically impact your productivity, moving from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset. A scarcity mindset is the belief that there's not enough to go around, not enough time, not enough money, not enough opportunities. This mindset leads to anxiety, fear, and a clutching onto what you have. It makes you reluctant to delegate, to collaborate, to take risks. It keeps you busy protecting what you have rather than productive creating what you want. An abundance mindset, on the other hand, is the belief that there is enough for everyone, enough time, enough money, enough opportunities. This mindset leads to generosity, creativity, and a willingness to take calculated risks. It allows you to focus on possibilities rather than limitations. Now, I know what some of you are thinking: Jim, that sounds nice, but the reality is that I don't have enough time. I have more demands than I can possibly meet. I understand that feeling, but consider this: even if the amount of time you have is fixed, and it is, we all get the same 24 hours a day, how you perceive and use that time is not fixed. It's a matter of choice and mindset. When you approach time from a scarcity mindset, you're always racing against the clock, always feeling behind, always seeing time as the enemy. But when you approach time from an abundance mindset, you see it as an ally, a resource to be invested wisely. An abundance mindset doesn't mean you ignore reality or fail to set boundaries. It means you focus on opportunities rather than obstacles, on what you can control rather than what you can't, on creating value rather than just preserving it. And here's what's fascinating: when you shift to an abundance mindset, you often find that you have more than you thought. More time, more resources, more opportunities, not because they magically appeared, but because you're now seeing what was there all along but hidden by your scarcity mindset. So ask yourself, are you operating from a mindset of scarcity or abundance? And how is that mindset affecting your productivity? Now, let's talk about a critical skill for productivity that's often overlooked: the art of focus. In today's world, distractions are everywhere. Your phone buzzes, your email pings, social media calls out for your attention, advertisements flash across your share screen. It's a wonder we can focus on anything for more than a few minutes at a time. And yet, deep focus work is exactly what's required for true productivity. It's in those states of deep concentration that we do our best thinking, our most creative work, our most valuable contributions. So how do you develop the ability to focus in a world designed to distract you? Here are a few strategies. First, create a distraction-free environment. Turn off notifications on your devices. Close unnecessary tabs on your computer. Find a quiet space if possible. Do whatever you need to do to minimize external distractions. Second, practice mindfulness. Train your mind to stay present with the task at hand. When you notice your thoughts wandering, gently bring them back to your work. This is a skill that improves with practice. Third, use time blocking. Schedule specific times for focused work and protect those times as you would an important meeting. During these blocks, work on one task and one task only. Fourth, take breaks. As I mentioned earlier, your brain isn't designed to focus intensely for hours on end. Work in focused bursts of 90 to 120 minutes, followed by short breaks. Fifth, get enough sleep. A sleep-deprived brain is a distracted brain. Make sure you're getting the rest you need to be able to focus effectively. And sixth, practice delayed gratification. When the urge to check your phone or browse the web arises, pause. Take a deep breath. Remind yourself of what you're working on and why it matters. Then choose to stay focused on your task rather than giving in to the immediate gratification of distraction. Remember, the ability to focus deeply is becoming increasingly rare and increasingly valuable in today's distracted world. Develop this skill and you'll have a significant advantage in whatever field you're in. I want to share with you a concept that has transformed my own approach to productivity, the idea of seasons and rhythms. You see, productivity isn't a steady state. It's not something you achieve once and for all. It ebbs and flows. There are seasons of intense activity and seasons of rest and reflection. There are daily rhythms, weekly rhythms, monthly rhythms, annual rhythms. Understanding and working with these natural rhythms rather than against them can dramatically enhance your productivity. For example, most people have times of day when they're naturally more alert and focused. For some it's early morning, for others it's late at night. Identifying your peak energy times and scheduling your most important work during those times can significantly boost your productivity. Similarly, there are seasons in your life and work when it makes sense to push hard and seasons when it makes sense to pull back. Trying to maintain the same pace all the time is a recipe for burnout. It's not sustainable. Think about farmers. They don't try to harvest year-round. There's a time to plant, a time to tend, a time to harvest, and a time to let the fields lie fallow. Each season has its purpose, and all are necessary for long-term productivity. The same principle applies to your life and work. There will be seasons of intense productivity, seasons of learning and growth, seasons of rest and renewal, seasons of transition and change. Embrace each season for what it is, and don't try to force a harvest when it's time to plant or rest when it's time to work. And remember, just as in nature, the seasons will change. If you're in a difficult season right now, take heart. It won't last forever. A new season is coming. Now, as we near the end of our time together, I want to talk about something that's at the heart of true productivity, purpose. You see, productivity isn't an end in itself. It's a means to an end. And that end is a life of meaning, fulfillment, and contribution. Without a clear sense of purpose, all the productivity techniques in the world won't make you truly effective. You might be efficient at crossing items off your to-do list, but if those items don't connect to a larger purpose, what's the point? Purpose provides direction. It helps you distinguish between what's merely urgent and what's truly important. It gives you the motivation to persist when the going gets tough. It makes the difference between being busy and being productive. So what's your purpose? What gets you out of bed in the morning? What contribution do you want to make to the world? What legacy do you want to leave? These aren't easy questions, and the answers may evolve over time. But wrestling with them is essential if you want to move from busyness to true productivity. And here's something important to understand. Your purpose doesn't have to be grandiose. It doesn't have to change the world. It just has to matter to you. It has to connect to your values, your passions, your unique gifts and talents. For some, purpose is found in raising children. For others, it's in building a business, creating art, teaching, healing, serving, advocating, innovating. There are countless ways to live a purposeful life. The key is to identify what matters most to you and then align your time and energy with that purpose. When you do that, productivity takes care of itself. You naturally focus on what's important. You naturally let go of what's merely busy work. You naturally become more effective, more impactful, more fulfilled. And that, my friends, is what it's all about. Not just being busy, but being productive in service of a purpose that matters to you. Let me leave you with this final thought. Your time is your life. Every hour, every minute is a piece of your life that you'll never get back. How you spend your time is how you spend your life. So ask yourself, are you spending your life being busy, or are you investing in being productive? Are you filling your days with activity, or are you filling them with accomplishment? Are you just passing time, or are you using time to move toward your most important goals and dreams? The choice is yours. And it's a choice you make every day, every hour, every minute. Choose wisely. Choose to be productive, not just busy. Choose to focus on what matters most. Choose to invest your time, not just spend it. And remember, it's never too late to make a different choice. If you've been caught in the trap of busyness, you can break free. If you've been wasting time on the wrong things, you can shift your focus to the right things. If you've been confusing activity with accomplishment, you can learn to distinguish between the two. The past is done. The future is yet to come. All you have is now, this moment, this choice. What will you do with it? I believe in you. I believe you have the capacity to be truly productive, to make a meaningful contribution, to live a life of purpose and fulfillment. It's not about doing more, it's about doing more of what matters. Thank you for your time and attention. Now go out there and make the most of the precious time you've been given. Not by being busy, but by being productive. Not by doing more things, but by doing more of the right things. Remember, the key to success is not in how many hours you put in, but in what you put into those hours. Make them count. Make them matter. Make them meaningful. Thank you, and God bless.